God, you don't smell that?
No.
My God.
Now
Charles,
I do.
welcome to the stinky streets.
Yeah. When you come to the Hotel Henry or Henri, what you want to do is you want to sidle right up to the garbage pile here, because that's what you want to smell.
Oh, we got to keep moving. Somebody sent me a comment. And then we got this. That thing is talking about clean air, Charles.
That's
the thing that stinks. Oh, God. What is it doing?
I don't know.
So somebody just sent me a comment earlier. Oh, my God. I've seen that Junoon elsewhere.
I think the correct verb there is was.
Well, somebody sent me a comment just right before I left about how Larry Nichols, when he was alive, this person was joking about something that Lee Stranahan brought up last night during High Dive, where he said that Saul Alinsky had planned a fart in, where they were going to, use flatulence as a political weapon. And this person commented that Hillary Clinton, according to Larry Nichols, must have been ahead of that. And it occurred to me that for Larry Nichols to smell anything other than cigarettes,
right,
that had to stink.
Well, on the subject of Hillary Clinton, and we'll get back to the art department, we can't forget that. It's another great poster.
Thanks.
But I think in the Podesta emails, there's talk back and forth of various and sundry people on the Clinton campaign saying that she stinks. Happened, maybe she's sick.
She's definitely sick.
But she tried, always thinking of the other person. Naomi Osaka, who you may not know, is the young...
Golf or tennis?
Tennis. Really quite an athlete who, in one, I think it was U.S. Open, beat Serena Williams. And was very, very gracious, even though Serena behaved like a witch.
Oh.
Serena was, so out of control that I think the umpire they may have defaulted her match against her, but they definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really quite something, and through it all, Naomi behaved very well. Well, she just recently, I don't know why she wouldn't speak to the media after her match, but she was being chastised for that, and then she just dropped out of the French Open. So Hillary Clinton.
Saw that. Why did she drop out? Just because they were annoying her too much?
She says she's suffering from depression, which is a serious matter, actually. People who have never known anybody who's had to cope with it can be prone to say, well, it's just, you're just sad.
Disengaged, kind of.
But it's a mental condition. It can be very, very, very difficult, if not impossible, to beat without heavy treatment. So anyway, she admitted that she had it, and Hillary just tweeted out saying, oh, I so admire Naomi Osaka, she's fantastic. And so my tweet, I forget exactly what I said, but I basically said, the only thing you have in common with Naomi Osaka is that you are a world-class grifter. She's a world-class tennis player, but Hillary Clinton ain't. And she's always now trying to insert herself into the issue of the moment.
So, Charles, we're back here at Madison Square Park. It's been kind of crappy weather the past several days, very overcast.
And cold because of the global warming.
Right.
Yeah, it's obvious.
So there's been a lot of changes. They have totally thrown the fair-haired, Il Doctore under the bus.
Well, we were talking about this, I believe, together almost every day, and then a little bit on Sunday, that it seemed as if something was up, that people in the know knew that there were going to be an earth-shaking set of events coming that might upset the whole apple cart of conventional wisdom as to what happened in 2020 with the election, and prior to that with the COVID outbreak. And now we're seeing it. I think it was Senator Mike Braun of Indiana warned last week. He didn't say why, but he said that there are going to be some breathtaking developments in the whole Fauci
case.
Well,
and now they've had, essentially like Fauci leaks Yeah, these are interesting flowers that this photographer has identified.
Are you sure they're flowers?
Well, I don't know. What could that be?
Ice cream?
Oh,
There's a bumblebee.
Yeah, exactly. Save the bees, Charles.
There's the bumblebees. That's beautiful. I'm sure somebody in the crowd could tell us what kind of flower that
I
flower
bet
is.
you Manny Grossman would know exactly what that flower is.
But let's just dwell a little bit on the Fauci revelation. So if we go back into our history of walkarounds, drawing on your knowledge gleaned through life of medicine, your initial reaction when people were spazzing out about the virus was to point out, which is absolutely true, that within each of us, many healthy people, our bodies carry viruses. I mean, that's just the way life works. And so to get all wee-weed up about one virus and then to be in a place where corporate-owned media that so wants to be able to function in China and social media, which is the same, are in a position, because traditional media, the advertising base has been wiped out, they're in a position to really not only cancel people, but to influence conventional wisdom to
this infernal clicking, Charles, is just chasing me everywhere. Stand by a second. So now the load. Get a new cable. It's in his trousers. Can you find the fish? I'll reiterate. In anonymous, unsolicited tech support, but back to what you were saying.
Right. So what's happened so quickly, and I think you and I perceived this a long time ago, is that this isn't merely about Fauci. This is about, on the heels, as John Solomon's excellent reporting on Monday, I think it was, came out, on the heels of 4, maybe 5 years of Christopher Steele bullshit that was sold to us as truth, that was the basis for one impeachment, and you could argue the indirect basis for the second impeachment of Trump. Following all of that, we then were sold a total load of crap.
I don't mean to interrupt, Charles, but you know how I am. I saw that sign and I thought it said Eklund Gnomes, but it's not.
Right.
Anyway.
On the heels of that, we then get this whole big story, and the breathless salespeople for it were Fauci and Birx and Redfield and others, that this is a game changer. We need to, quote, follow the science.
Right.
And now it turns out the emails we've seen, and I'm sure there are more incriminating emails than we've seen so far.
They were deliberately ignoring science.
Yeah, it's just bullshit. And
covering each other, thanking each other for...
Well, and after all this stuff about Trump's buying the election, Trump's bought the election in league with the Russians, now we find out that Zuckerberg, most likely, and Soros and others through Act Blue, likely using Chinese money, bought the 2020 election. And that's becoming increasingly evident now when we see the results of these audits, the Maricopa audit, the Georgia audit, the New Hampshire audits, the other ones that are coming to the fore here. And you really just, it's not that complicated to think this stuff through. You ask yourself the oldest question in the world. You know, who benefits? Right?
Well, it's obvious from the cancel culture that
China benefits.
Well, I was going to say social media is in on it. Just between Facebook and Twitter, I've had a Facebook account canceled. I had a Periscope account canceled.
Right.
And I mean, forget it. We're just going to talk about this. Whatever YouTube wants to do, if people have to watch the show in the future on Subscribestar or Patreon or some platform that I pay to create, that's what we're going to have to do. But this is how they shut it all down.
Exactly. But I think the first shock that we have here is that all the supposed experts, and the MSNBC types and the CNN types, when they would talk about an alternative interpretation of events, it was always that debunked conspiracy theory. That's
that's everything.
And they would say it with a sneer on their face, as if they're the geniuses, and obviously,
They've been talking about the conspiracy theories for the longest time. That idiot Donnie O'Sullivan at CNN you know, he points out that this Port of Charleston thing was a conspiracy theory, but where is CNN's article about the Steele dossier being a conspiracy theory?
Right.
And how they've been idiots for 4 years.
Exactly. And so when we got into this a year ago with the walkarounds, we
People
started
sneering at us, Charles.
That's fine. Let them do that.
Yeah, I hear you.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
Well,
I think I'm on the same page.
Oh, you're on the same page as us?
Yes.
Well,
Good.
thank you.
Thanks.
No, a lot of weird people come up to me on the street. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So when we thought about it initially, and I'm no medical type, I'm actually quite squeamish, but I like to think that I know a little bit about math and I'm comfortable thinking about math issues. My big concern early on was we were seeing no good statistics of how many infections and then how many adverse reactions and how many of those solely due to the COVID,
PCR test?
to the COVID, led to extremely adverse reactions, whether death or incapacitation or whatever you want to define. We saw none of that data. We saw no data initially by age and sex and race and height and weight and whether you were obese or not. And then it swiftly went to died with COVID, not of COVID.
Yeah, they were moving the goalpost all along. And in case you've been following the stonks, Charles,
Yeah.
there's AMC. But you know what? John Cullen has been on top of that
Good man.
aspect of it from the beginning. And he and I were discussing this morning one of the emails from the Fauci leaks where they're specifically talking about how to massage reporting
Right.
on influenza. It's like, what the hell are they doing? That's
Well,
total
I think we know what they're
damage
doing.
spin control and not scientific public health reporting.
Right, and so when we say follow the science, what we mean is follow the scientific method, which means you do, that's a smell. Do you smell it again?
Yeah, it's caustic,
It's some kind of cleaning fluid, I think.
but it's like blocks we're smelling it.
I think it's, well, who knows what they're doing, but
That's new. C.C. Filson?
yeah,
what is that?
I don't know. So what you do in the scientific method is you develop working theories and you test them and you refine them and you're always thinking that you've got a lot of the answer, but maybe you could get a better answer by thinking about it more. And to me, the working theory that the Chinese desperately, specifically the communists in China, desperately wanted Trump out
Yeah.
because they saw the degree to which Trump's message was resonating.
Sorry, Charles, we got more king. I don't want to read. I don't want anyone, unless you are an engineer at Apple Computer, to say anything about than anybody sitting at home possibly could be.
Right. So
Hang on, we're not back yet.
okay.
Okay, actually, I think we are now.
Okay. So when we think back to 2020, really 2019, Trump's aggressive stance on his trade negotiation was really working. The
Yeah.
Chinese were at their wits' end over that. They thought they'd be able to bribe the farmers. They thought they'd be able to influence public opinion, and they weren't getting anywhere with that. And then the spontaneous protests in Hong Kong. Now, I don't know if probably or maybe
CIA?
who knows? Different security agencies, may well the English or others, have been involved in
That makes sense.
I don't know, obviously, but it's when you think about the threat that those protests posed to the authoritarian regime in Beijing, because if the Hong Kongers got away with throwing off the yoke of
That
Beijing,
would set off the whole thing.
yeah, chain reaction around the country. And so they couldn't have that happen. They were on their back feet. They were on their
Seems
back.
like something crazy is happening.
Where?
I don't know, we've just been hearing sirens for blocks. So they were on their back feet.
Because of Trump's trade talks. Remember those talks?
Right.
They had like a light deal that was going to be inked, and they delayed inking it until the Chinese, I think, came to the White House in January. Let's not get too close to this. And then, so the Chinese certainly knew, as a guess.
Actually, Charles, let's just take a walk through the farmer's market here.
Okay. So the
Chinese knew what?
They certainly knew that they had a problem in Wuhan and elsewhere, and they nonetheless allowed Americans to meet with them in China, came over to meet with us in the U.S., inked this deal while the COVID stuff was spilling out.
Should we ask this beef farmer if he's been hacked?
I don't think he's here.
No, I just saw him loading stuff. I think we're kind of the end of the day here for the farmer's market. I would like to get his opinion on that.
Go for it.
Let's just see real quick. I know you're really busy, but can I ask you about this hack of beef? Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard much about it. Some people were saying about it today.
Just in the news, right?
I haven't seen it. I haven't researched it.
What do you think about this catch-all that something got hacked and then the price of beef goes through the roof?
Who knows? I mean, processing went up a little bit in general, so that's probably, but other than that, I don't know what else is driving it up. The cattle herds haven't changed.
How long you been in the beef ranching business?
About 11 years.
And your family probably many years before?
No, we actually started it up in like 2009.
Wow.
So that's when we started doing it. So.
All right, well, thanks. Good
Good
luck
luck
to you.
to you.
So there you go, Charles. That beef has not been hacked. I guess at least until the butcher gets his
It
hands
hasn't
on
been hacked, but it's been packed.
Yeah. Sorry, back to the Chinese
Right.
getting hacked by Trump.
So you look at that and you say, all right, in early 2020, the various debates that had happened were abysmal, right? Kamala Harris destroyed Biden in the first debate, and look how popular she is now. I mean, so that was your lead candidate in January 2020.
It was hard to imagine any Democrat winning at that moment.
Right, and so and Joe, I mean, people were talking about how Joe would have to drop out, and then that Representative Clyburn from I think South Carolina, who's very influential, managed to pull his considerable support behind Biden, and Biden was basically put in there, and the country was forced, as we all know, to stay home. The world was forced to stay home.
Yeah.
And the tricks that would not have been possible had humans been out voting were possible.
Right.
And then we saw the aggressive nature of social media, in particular, when the story about Hunter Biden's laptop broke.
Yeah.
People
they
were
buried it.
literally kicked off the internet. I mean, was he kicked off then? Or the Hunter Biden story was just...
Before the election, Trump was kicked off for talking about election irregularity, I think, wasn't he?
No, but I think various and sundry people were canceled. The New York Post's, I believe, Twitter account was shut down before the election.
Right.
You know, and when you see that, the thinking person would say, now, wait a minute. How does social media have that much power? You know?
It's interesting. Twitter, yeah. Should we ask this guy if he's been hacked? We got the first
No,
one.
let's
That's
if
all
we can.
want, yeah.
So we go back to that period, and with what we know so far, that yes, it is true that Zuckerberg himself was collaborating with Fauci.
Well, he did that interview even where, you know, he faked vaccine curiosity, and Fauci was like, oh no, the vaccine is totally safe, Zuck.
Yeah, and then I just want to stay away from that.
And Zuckerberg was like, oh, well, all right, I trust you. No
Yeah,
reason
exactly.
to doubt Fauci, despite all these emails where he's thanking people for lying on his behalf.
Right. And so the larger picture there is when we look at this, we should be saying, look how stupid we were to believe this Christopher Steele stuff. Look how stupid intelligence agencies were, or complicit they were, to allow this garbage to go on. Both, if they knew that the Steele stuff was garbage, they should have shut that down well before November 2016. Instead, they promoted it.
Yeah.
And who knows if it was just, likely it was not simply the U.S. alone. It was the U.S. with the U.K. and others who were promoting that, because they were terrified of what Trump would do in their first and maybe second term.
Right.
So you have that garbage that happened. Then you have the COVID stuff that happened. And that's before you even start thinking about weapons of mass destruction and invading Iraq and other things that have cost the lives of millions of people around the world and the well-being, both physical and mental, of many, many people around the world, and have led to strife and anxiety and destruction all over the place. We're just supposed to accept whatever these people say and not question.
And keep doing that.
You know, and that's, I think, for me, the larger point. And The Guardian, which is not traditionally a conservative rag in English, or quite left-leaning, They have the point, I think, in an issue that I saw today, or an article I saw today, that the consequences of this 180 on Fauci and COVID and all this are going to be profound. Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. He was focused on us for whatever reason.
Want to go down? Yeah, want to go to Washington Square Park.
So stuff is continuing to go out of business.
Everywhere, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about with New York being back. That idiot de Blasio thinks he's on an episode of Sesame Street or something. He's like appearing with Brooklyn-themed murals, and that indicates that everything is back.
Yeah. Well, as I walked up to you just now, sorry for the noise. As I walked up to you, I noticed that a large number of stores that have been around for quite a while are just out.
Yeah.
Even more than I'd previously noticed. So, and I tend to get out every day and try to notice things. God, that smell again.
That's this truck. Man, it's a weird day, Charles. A lot of noise, a lot of things out of business, and a lot of caustic chemicals in the air. Now this has been out for a while. Forever, though.
It's been out for a while.
This was a new building that never even really got off the ground before the pandemic.
And it had
I don't think they've ever rented that stuff in the ground floor.
Well, the one right closest to us was Nutella, which is that.
Oh yeah, right. Right there with the brown paper. So Nutella went out of business?
I don't know about went out of business, but the New York store went out of business.
Wow.
That's a very expensive building. That's where I had my, I want to say, 4th grade birthday party was in Bowlemore Lanes.
This is out.
Yeah,
Bowlemore Lanes was fun.
And that pizza, Stromboli pizza, it was fantastic.
Stromboli pizza was good, Bowlemore Lanes was good, and Japonica was in this
it's still there.
Previous building.
Well, it's down the street.
Right, but also Shingo retired, and it's just not what it was, unfortunately.
Yeah. This is where is still an internet cafe.
We didn't lose viewers there. What are people saying? Buffering. Try again, everybody. It should be back. Let's just make sure we're back. I think we're back. So this is NYU country over here, Charles.
Right. So as I was saying,
yeah, it's back.
The real story here is that the World Health Organization, the biggest donors to the World Health Organization, I believe, other than governments, are Mike Bloomberg and Gates. And both of whom have given billions of dollars away, promoting, in theory, projects that help health. But neither of whom are medical doctors. Gates doesn't even have a college, he scared me.
Sorry,
doesn't even have a college degree. So,
he doesn't even have a clue, if you ask me.
Right, well, you ask his wife about that one. But
a certain segment of the audience is about to go nuts, Charles.
What? What did I do?
The QQ nail salon.
So, I've always been taught, and wrongly or rightly so, that doctors diagnose patients whom they know. Examine. And they may do it these days remotely via video, stuff like that. But in the old days, it was critically important, particularly when you're talking about mental health.
Yes.
To have a battery of tests and time interacting patient versus doctor. The notion that some garden gnome, Fauci, on the strength of no medical experience at treating patients, is going to prescribe for 7.5 billion people on the planet what should happen based on a model that was clearly broken because one of the people putting it together was too busy banging his mistress or whatever, however that worked out. And that there would be we rush and people go into Trump, and Trump, I think, made a mistake, honestly, caving. He should have, watch it, Jason.
Yeah, he should have stayed on his,
he should have stressed, he should have said, listen, you're asking me to shut the world down, okay? I will do that, but I need much more than the garden gnome and the scarf lady telling me that we got a model over here that some English people, and beware people with English accents, right? We Americans, we always think that people with smart, cultured English accents are in some ways wiser than we are. But for that, Trump really made the decision that cost him his re-election.
Well, I agree, but it didn't cost him the re-election, well, for the reasons that a lot of people think. But
будем...
you
Know
gotta
your audience.
select the words carefully here. Yeah, I don't understand why. A lot of people in our audience, Charles, think that Trump was in on it. I don't really like statements like that because it's so simplified that it's like, what the hell does that mean?
Well, that's a good point. One of the things, we were lucky on Sunday and earlier to talk about this Peter Daszak and the EcoHealth fraud, charity fraud.
What luck is the residue of design, Charles?
Right. But he's really very much at the center of the whole fraud, this Peter Daszak. He was the guy who put the nail in the coffin early on when people were saying, well, maybe it did come from the Wuhan lab. And he's the guy who organized.
It's like, no, it came from across the street. It couldn't have possibly have come from this lab.
Right.
That's racist.
Well, but you see, the thing that's, I think, complicated here is that EcoHealth Alliance, which as far as I can tell, looking at the filings in New York, is a fraud, is majority funded by the U.S. government.
What?
Yeah, we went through that.
Oh,
Remember all those grants?
yeah.
You know, we went year by year, grant by grant.
Hang on now. Did you see that?
What?
Who is that in that picture?
No clue.
It's Vlad the Impaler.
Is that right? How do you know that?
I mean, isn't it?
I don't know.
Someone has taken up residence in there, and I'm sorry, I was distracted by that, Charles. I remember that all the government grants went to
Right.
EcoHealth Alliance.
So then when the Chinese come back and say, no, wait a minute, we didn't cause this thing to escape, the U.S. military was involved.
But I think that's right, too.
My point. And it used to be, and John Solomon, frankly, has come, I think, closest to being his group that is actually doing good work in many ways. I mean, the standard is so low now.
You're talking about the closest of people who appear on Fox News, I think.
No. Fox News has gone, as Archie Bunker used to say, in the turlet. I mean, it's just
Yes.
no, the old-fashioned type
For
of.
me, it started out on the seat.
Okay, well, it's
like,
swirling around. You know, it's
yes.
floating around.
It's like it's a tidy ball man with a boat in there.
And the boat's got a leak in it.
Excuse me. What the hell is with that?
I don't know.
She just like came right in here into my personal space.
Well, she would argue that you're in public.
I mean, listen, unless I know you, that's not really.
Well, maybe she liked you. Flirting with you, Jason.
I don't think so.
All right, so we're very close here to Washington Square Park by design. I think what we'll do is we'll run the risk of going on a circuit inside the park to take people through the most dangerous part of the park.
Oh, right. There's a new thing that's developed that we haven't really been talking about. Now, this is NYU. This is Weinstein Hall.
They still call it Weinstein Hall?
But was it from
Joe Weinstein.
Yeah, it's not Harvey Weinstein Hall. That would be.
That
maybe
would be
that's
like
in the basement.
That would be like going to Jeffrey Epstein to get marriage counseling. Oh wait,
Wait a
Bill
minute.
Gates did that.
Yeah, Bill Gates. He's been kind of quiet. That person was a dining ambassador and wearing a purple shirt, so that's got to be NYU. But what is that?
I think
What
the
is
person
dining ambassador?
I think she was an eating ambassador.
Is that? I mean, that's like one of these politically correct terms to not make people feel bad about
Being a dishwasher.
working at a cafeteria. But I mean, that's a respectable job. It's better than being a rioter or demanding socialist money.
Yeah, I've got a BS, of course, in rioting.
It's actually a good opportunity for people to take stock of like being a little bit more appreciative of people who are working jobs that maybe some people might not show as much respect to as they might, because I thought about that yesterday when I was at the supermarket, that all the people that are choosing to work at the supermarket really deserve I don't know, thanks or something, because they could just as easily not show up and stay home and wait for money.
All right, so this is Washington Square Park. It's 9.75 acres. We're going to go down this way.
Do you want to reveal to people what this latest wrinkle is?
You go right ahead.
Well, there have been complaints and reports from local residents who most people like to just come hang out here and chill out or walk around and do whatever. But there's been a huge contingent of heroin users now.
And crack cocaine.
And crack smokers and meth and like really hard, just out in the open. And I mean, you can see a lot of people like to bring their babies, hang out in the park with kids.
Indeed. When I moved here when I was 3, the first park I played, and probably the major park I played, was this one right there.
And look, there's a ton of kids right there. So heroin and crack and all that. I know Joe Biden thinks it's the smartest thing you can do is smoking crack. But
that's Hunter.
well, but he's the smartest guy he knows. So it's got to be pretty good.
That's pretty advanced reasoning there on your part. I don't think that Joe would be able to follow that.
Here's the Q COVID-19 lab again.
Right.
Over there, testing people.
So while we're letting people take in the park, I always say something about the poster, and then for some reason we go all over the place and don't cover it. But that poster was really phenomenal. And whether you like Joe Biden or dislike Joe Biden, I was going to suggest.
But I think we missed the heroin section.
No, the heroin section's all down here. It's the worst part of the park is in the corner there. We'll see. It may have been cleaned out, and then we'll come back around. So it's in the very corner.
It's kind of interesting that this is not fenced off anymore and there's no more cops.
Yeah.
Why did that happen?
I don't know. So on the poster, it's really something. And I started to say that whether you think he's a good president or a bad president, the stuff that's coming from his brain, potentially, out through his lips into the public domain is so fucking stupid. I mean, honestly. To say, I mean, it would be one thing if you had...
Oh, wait a second, Charles. I have to pause you, because that's a legal conclusion right there. We have no evidence that Joe Biden has a brain.
Left, that's true. I mean, we have to say, I mean, he's a guy, I think if he did successfully get a degree from law school, I believe he was either the very bottom of his class or close to it. So, yeah, they did close this. Yeah, Art in the Park, what is this?
Ah, because that's where all the heroin was going down?
Well, it's down through here. I don't know.
We can go through.
Yeah.
Unless this person is stopping us and saying you need a mask.
They might be.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah. Per NYC Parks must be.
Face coverings.
It's actually closed over here. The corner's closed off.
Why is it closed?
So the Parks Department and the NYPD have decided to close the corner to give it a good deep clean and try to get a handle on some of the activity that goes on in there. I work for the Parks Conservancy. We had pre-existing permits for children's events, so that's what's going on in there right now.
Okay, you
like
might
kids' arts and crafts.
You might consider cleaning up the whole park, not just that corner.
We work on the whole park.
Yeah, good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stay safe.
The whole park. Charles, I'm aware of a whole park. It's an a-hole park. It's over on the west side. Barry's Diddle Park or whatever the hell that thing is called.
But just to finish my thought, if I can, Jason. So the on Biden being not smart enough to be stupid. Here's a guy who, when pressed in a podcast or Charlemagne the God or whatever, when pressed by him, he said, "Wait a minute, if you don't support me, you ain't black." Guy says that.
Grammatical error.
Well, I don't think that's majorly, that's stupid 21. That's stupid 24/7. And
he's had the stupid 21 vaccine, Charles.
That's right. Yeah, the way you get it's administered by putting your head in a toilet bowl and flushing.
Well, some people suffer from stupidity after getting that vaccine. But I like the idea that Joe Biden might have to take a 3-year course to achieve the rank of stupid.
You wouldn't be able to do it without Hillary's help and cheating.
Well, we're very close to the student center. We could maybe sign him up right now.
Right, so, but what he said on the heels of that, and being very much in support of Bill Clinton's crime bill, which people on both sides of the aisle say did a lot to hurt black families and black people. In the last 24 hours or so, he was addressing the issue of inequality and wealth. And he said, with this real know-it-all look on his face, the reason that black people are not as wealthy as white people is they don't know how to call accountants and lawyers.
That's so stupid, it's almost hard to address.
And 75 million people voted for this idiot?
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an insulting comment.
Yeah.
It's the kind of comment that you could imagine somebody who played too much hockey and was out at a frat party in college trying to impress people, would say drunk, having had 3 kegs of beer, him or herself. But it's just...
Did Joe Biden play hockey?
I don't know.
Me at 19.
He played hooky.
A couple blows to the head might explain it.
So this typically is, yeah, I guess they close it there too.
Look, speaking of boxing.
That's a good guy. He's always here.
Well, he's just training these
little kids. But this used to, I mean, I don't know, you would have heard in the NYU student newspaper that I think this was the main marijuana market was like right here.
Walking through here, they would always say...
Smoke.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll go down that way. So this also is, I think, a scene of...
Now, I can't verify this, Charles, but I've heard it was terrible.
Yeah. Who knows, it may happen to us as we walk through here.
Well, and frankly, that was the reputation of the park, was marijuana. I cannot ever recall seeing anybody doing heroin or smoking crack or anything like that.
Oh yeah, and worse. I mean, I was in this park.
I mean, before all this.
I'm saying I was in this park maybe 7 years ago or 10 years. A beautiful summer day, a very beautiful, lots of attractive people, and this beautiful girl just came around, took down her pants, took a dump right next to a tree, and the bathroom was right over there.
Well, but that doesn't count as smoking crack, though.
I'm just saying, it's the kind of behavior they care about. Now, some of these people here are excellent chess players.
This is a hustle over here.
Let's make a chess video.
Right?
Go this way, Jason.
It's a total hustle right here, Charles.
Well, I know.
This is like chess sharks.
I know. Well, it's good. I mean, it's better than loan sharks.
Or
land
pool sharks.
Pool sharks, I'm all in favor of.
That's the same kind of play right over there.
Right. But chess, there's a fair amount of skill in. I guess there's skill in
pool as well.
Pool too. So we were thinking, we can go just meander and then head south and see if we can find any of the China virus in Chinatown.
I think that girl's art department story about what's going on over there is what's called a lie.
What story is that?
Where they're cleaning up the thing for kids to have an art display. No, the cops read the New York Post and decided
this
they
doesn't
need to
work
kick out
for us,
the people who are smoking crack.
Yeah, which never works. I mean, the brilliant move of kicking them out of the park at midnight means that they go to the surrounding area where I live and do it on the street.
I think it's about to start raining, Charles.
Yeah, well, do you want to then start heading back?
No, we'll just have to brave the weather. The other thing that I know, this sort of mundane stuff is not necessarily that interesting, but something weird is going on with the batteries where I have no idea how long the battery, this thing is hovering between 0% and 50%, where normally it's very accurate.
Kind of like Biden, in sympathy with Biden.
Yeah, you never know when it's just going to give out completely.
Hovering between a 0 and a failure. Not even a failure. He's failed at being a failure, because to be a failure, you've got to get a 65%.
Well, and I'll tell you, another reason why I wanted to use Superbad POTUS is that I just cannot understand or believe that anybody would think that Biden is anything but an unmitigated disaster. And I was looking at Twitter this morning, and there were, I can understand how people were unhappy with Trump and some of the things that people really disliked about Trump, but I literally cannot understand how somebody can look at what's gone on for the past 5 months and not see a terrible result.
Yeah. Well, let's take just a few of those issues. So we take, for those of us who live in cities, don't as frequently come into contact directly with the consequences of out of control high gas prices.
That's true.
Right? You don't have to fill. I remember when I was living upstate and I was driving my kids back and forth to school and go all over the place, you have to fill up the car every other day.
And you're real aware of when the price is going up.
Yeah, and so if it's the case, as I think it is the case, that the average family of 4, the median income is about $65,000 before taxes, right?
Not a lot for 4 people.
Right, and you're let's say living in a rural area or the suburbs, and you've got to drive. When this oil prices go spiraling up, you see that every day.
Right.
You have less money to pay for food,
right,
medicine, other things.
Certainly no leisure.
And then we have from, I think one of his, I think it was the deputy National Economic Council advisor, somebody like that.
Smells much better over here.
Yeah, to you. This idiot gave an interview where he said, well, actually, inflation is a good thing. It's a good sign that we have inflation. He's an idiot. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, but is it ever good for anybody? Maybe the bank.
It's good if you own gold, oil, platinum, lumber, and things like that I do. I mean, the stocks, that's great, but it's not good if you're trying to put food on the table out of a salary.
Something.
Yeah.
Or buy anything made of wood or driven someplace in a truck.
Right, so this guy, I mean, he puts the con in economics, right? He's a moron. And what's happened is that very few, not enough people are comfortable with math, and fewer still like and understand economics and finance. So rather than think for yourselves, many of us, myself included until 2002, would say, well, what are the smart economists saying about this? Let's listen to them. They've been doing this for 50 years. They must know what's going on.
They're at the Gorilla Burger restaurant.
It's flipping them.
Yeah. So what do the smart economists do?
They get out of that business.
Gorilla Burgers?
They start smoking crack.
Yeah. Maybe now that beef got hacked, gorillas will be a viable beef alternative.
Yeah, or rats.
Well, wait a minute. I can't believe we didn't put this together. Beef getting hacked, Bill Gates is going to be like, well, now we can, turn poop into beef or whatever his plan was.
Well, no, his plant-based alternative, right? They have plant stuff.
I don't think it was plant-based. He's somehow genetically making beef in a lab. It's like,
I think the only thing he's making now is he's praying to whoever he prays to, most likely Lucifer.
But the next gen of that lab-created beef, it's not the same as Beyond whatever, where it's making some vegan thing. The lab-created beef that they're talking about, and people should check this, and maybe I'm wrong, I thought this is what I understood. It's like cloning the cells or something to actually grow beef in a petri dish.
That doesn't, I mean, that's just the kind of thing this idiot would want to do. Yeah, rather than getting water from a spring, I own a lot of land in Africa, and I'm going to collect all that shit and turn it into water, and we'll bottle that.
I have more faith in the ability to extract H2O from anything that has it in there than I do in this notion of genetically somehow producing something that you're going to eat, which probably 10 years on, they'll be like, oh, by the way, that causes cancer.
Well, there's many really annoying ads on television, cable. One of them is about this paving stone company.
What is it?
It's a paving stone company, the decorative paving stones that are used around spas and pools and patios and stuff like this. And this annoying guy kind of looks like Fauci, gets up there, and this is a family-owned business.
Hey, we got no influenza.
No, it's a family-owned business, and his two sons are there, and he says, he more or less implies that he loves his business more than his sons.
Oh,
and
great ad.
And instead of going back and forth on paving stones, I mean, whether you use his paving stone or somebody else's paving stone, it's like, you got too much fucking time on your hand if you're wasting a lot of money on these stupid paving stones. Do something else. Similarly, if you're a billionaire and you're the largest landowner in America and you've got
That's
Microsoft,
Gates, right?
all this stuff, yeah, you don't need to waste your precious time weaning us off millennia of experience in eating. You're not a chef. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a dietitian. Most of your ideas suck. And the only
not
reason,
a cattle rancher.
And the only reason you're getting away with this is because you can pay people off through your foundation.
Right.
Or hire them. Or persecute them with lawyers.
Charles, I wonder if we might be able to save time and have a more direct route towards solving some of these unanswered questions if we just tried to identify how many of these foundations aren't fraudulent. That might take a lot less time.
That's right. Well, or we could turn everything on its heels, right? We could say, all right, those people who want...
Look at how nice it is inside this outdoor restaurant.
That it is.
Excuse me.
It's like a whole other building. Sorry, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I mean, we need, the show where I began my ignominious television career, To Tell the Truth?
Yes.
You could say to shut up the bozos or something like that. You get, the contestants would be Zuckerberg, Gates, Bloomberg, etc. and they could articulate their visions. You know, the World Economic Forum guy.
We're going to block out the sun.
We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then, no. What you do is you have them let them, each of them do that, and then you bring out an army of what I forget if it's chimpanzees.
Man with a pen in the head.
The ones who throw number two.
Orangutans.
Is it orang? Yeah, you get a whole
any gorilla at
right.
all.
And the plutocrat who the cleanest plutocrat after there's a rain of all that stuff on him is the person we would execute first. I mean, these guys who spend their time thinking that because they've built a successful business, they should control the world. Sorry, they're delusional.
Well, it's become basically the standard now because if you think, we have 10 seconds.
I know, I
but,
just want to run.
If you think about it, you know, these guys have all sort of modeled themselves after either Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. And I mean, Elon Musk has pretty much taken up the mantle of Steve Jobs, where he's this like very kind of public.
Well, you forgot about Elizabeth Holmes. Theranos.
She's in jail, I thought.
I know.
Oh. But I mean, isn't that true? Isn't that true, Charles? Before Steve Jobs, no CEO was walking around in jeans and a turtleneck making these big public presentations, and that was a new kind of approach, really.
Well, there was that guy at, I think he was Cisco, and he had to get Scott McNeely, Sun Microsystems.
Oh, yeah.
And then he got a lot of attention, so Jack Welch decided that he had to wear casual Friday type clothes all the time, and he just looked silly. Now, is Mott Street is up that way?
Oh, I don't know. I got to just get down to Chinatown. I think you're right. It is.
Let's go up this way a little bit, so we have to. So back then on Biden, we have the situation with his comments yesterday in Tulsa, where he said that Al-Qaeda was a smaller problem for the U.S. than white supremacists.
I'm surprised he didn't say Tulsa Gabbard is a agent of the Russians.
Or just pleased to see you here.
Mr. President.
I'm so delighted to be here. The city named after my great friend Tulsa Gabbard.
Yeah.
Thanks for being in the audience, Tulsa.
Yeah, and all the people in Mexico, New Mexico, whichever. We have all the governors here.
Oh. Yeah.
But we forgot to talk about how he's ordering ice cream for more 5-year-old girls.
Again, this
what
is
the hell is up with the president singling out age-inappropriate females?
Yeah, well, he's just he thinks that he's actually. What?
The battery went on this thing, so hang on. Let me switch it. I have a bunch of batteries today. This is really not the way this is supposed to work, but we're gonna be able to recover here. It's still live, yeah. They can't hear it. So, well, they hear a muffled version of something. I think that should bring it back. So it should turn on right away. I don't know why this is behaving like this. Yeah. All kinds of delights await us. Huh, interesting. You know what? It might be that it's only using one of 2 batteries. Almost back here.
So you were saying, yeah, the 5-year-old, 8-year-old girl thing.
Hang on, it's not working. Now it is. Whoops. Well, that was one of the most conspicuously weird president to leave the podium in the middle of his speech to approach a 5-year-old and take an ice cream order.
It's just it's indefensible, and anybody who would try to defend it.
If Trump did that, Nancy Pelosi would impeach him immediately.
Yeah. Well, again, as what we've been saying, you and I, all along, this is unfair to him. The people around him, especially Dr. in quotes Joe Biden and others who, in theory, have his best interests at heart, they shouldn't allow him to continue in office. He is making a mockery of himself
And us.
And there are people watching.
Yes.
In Russia and China and elsewhere who do not have our best interests at heart. And they see this bumbling, not even a buffoon, he's not smart enough to be a buffoon. And they see as well the docile nature of the American people, that we tolerate this. That we say, oh yeah, it's okay. Yeah, fine. You know, you may have stolen the election. You don't have a mandate to do any of the socialist crap that you're trying to do. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to many things that are important, and even unimportant things. And nobody listens to you. Nobody's watching the guy on television.
I've got him registered for buffoonery's role in modern history, so once he graduates that, he'll be a buffoon.
Yeah, modern buffoon, MBA.
Yes.
Modern buffoon a-hole.
A master of buffoonery.
And
he's just got an MB.
Right. So,
oh, hey, look.
Well, there you go. Well, how did they come up with that number?
420. I think it's the police code, but boy, this is a really fancy weed store.
It's like a soap store to me.
Yeah, I mean, CBD, I think, is not really...
Custom tincture bar? What is this?
The tincture bar is, that's the thing. They extract the CBD as an oil and put it in these things where you just, like, drink it or whatever, spray it, and it's... I think it's very, very effective against epilepsy.
Yeah, I think Mott Street is up this way.
Might have even been Sonic talking to a family who had a kid who was having like 800 seizures a day, and they tried every single possible thing, and then got CBD, and it went down to like 5 seizures a day.
Well, that's still, I mean, it's an improvement.
But I mean, but compared to 800.
No, I'm saying that's great, but how do you explain Biden? How many seizures a day does he have? And by the way, he's pulled the lid again. He's in Delaware. Tomorrow's his wife's birthday. So
what's with the lids? Did Trump ever have a lid?
I think from time to time he did in the summer period. But he was working constantly, typically as early as 5, 6 in the morning, tweeting out late at night as well, or somebody was. So we're now blocks away from Mott Street and Chinatown and Mulberry Street, Little Italy. Just have to get across Broadway and then go down.
This is a strange building for them to have built right here. Much taller, really, than other stuff around.
Well, I think they're going to start knocking down more buildings.
Well, I do believe that has something to do with de Blasio, doesn't it? Like, he allowed them, that building that used to be Japonica that we were just looking at is much taller than anything over there. And I know a friend of mine who grew up in that neighborhood is annoyed because apparently they did away with some long-standing rule that you're not allowed to build beyond a certain height.
Well, it's pronounced DeCrazio, by the way, not DeBlasio, but yeah. Thank God he's out in November.
But you're going to get Andrew Yang or somebody stupid like that.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know, Jason. We might want to have Plan B here.
It's going to rain, you mean?
Yeah.
What's Plan B? Just get rained on.
Maybe we go up this way to Union Square?
Well, we could do that, sure. You don't want to...
Well, we could... more mindful for you and the video equipment.
Well, this is in plastic, so I don't know. I think it'll be okay.
Okay.
Some cores.
Here we go.
More stuff for lease over here, Charles.
What isn't for lease?
I know. I don't understand how they can say that New York is back.
They say anything.
Yeah.
They can't get up there and say, if DeCrazio did a State of the City address, it would be hilarious. I have successfully destroyed
everything.
Almost everything, but before I destroyed most of what I destroyed, I made sure to give my wife enough money so that she could steal whatever she wants.
Look at this. I mean, this is the fastest growing business in New York, is COVID testing.
No, this is.
Well, for lease. It's just a disaster.
Yep.
I don't talk to him too much because I know he's going to want to come down.
I like that mask with the picture of lips on it. Charles, everything is out of business.
I know. That's why. This was basically prime
Yeah.
prior
This
to
is
the
Soho.
lockdown. But this was just thronging. You had the NYU students and their
Yep.
parents. You had the out-of-town visitors. We have Pride coming up. Excuse me. A crumb in my throat or something. We have our finest garbage is out now.
Yeah. This is peak rubbish.
All right. Now that it's getting hot,
Foliage. Right.
you want to make sure to put garbage out in the street.
Charles,
So-
if I was the mayor of New York City, I would pose a challenge. Sorry, hang on a second. First, I would get clicking, but I would pose a challenge to the brilliant minds of New York, and I would want somebody to come up with an automated dumpster system where businesses would, instead of having piles of garbage out here, you could have self-driving dumpsters that would be like garbage trucks that when they would automatically detect that they're full, they would drive away to the dump and another one would show up.
That's a good idea.
It would be sealed so that rats couldn't get in there, and it would just look like a white sanitation vehicle, so it wouldn't look like garbage everywhere all over the streets. And then New York could say, you know what, we're one of the wealthiest cities in the world, and we're using technology to ensure everybody's health. You could do that in a year. Instead, they've just let the garbage build up, the homeless problem build up, telling people to wear masks when they do nothing, except probably make you sicker. We've had Fauci even say that there's no evidence that the masks actually work. Let me go email some people about that.
Wait, I got to work on my book contract.
There's no way anyone will ever actually see these, right? Dr. Fauci.
Oh boy.
Well, what else is...
We're nearly to Mulberry Street here.
we haven't really spoken at all today about the Mr. Schlapp.
Yes. We can do that in a sec. Mr. Schlapp has said more than once that he would entertain the notion of debating me. I can tell you that in the last 96 hours of doing research, there's no way.
Yeah, I know. I can tell you just from calling them a bunch of times. They're nervous even at the prospect.
Well, one of the things I was able to do
now it smells delicious.
was we're heading towards Little Italy. I was able to look at the period 2010, December 31, 2010 to March 31st, 2019. And I found what passed for audits for the American Conservative Union Foundation. The American Conservative Union Foundation was started on February 28th, 1983. From February 28th, 1983 until December 31st, 2010, the entity generated total profit or increase in net assets of how much would you guess? This is while you're thinking.
It was like $1 million or something.
$26,000.
Oh.
Okay? And they capped that magnificent performance off from December 31st, 2010 to March 31st, 2018. What do you think happened to that net assets in that period? The modern era. Much of it under Schlapp.
It's hard for me to remember without looking at it, but I think it...
The cumulative went from profit of 26,000 to a loss of 400,000 by March 31st, 2018. You got to be really freaking stupid to run a charity.
How does a business that's involved with $26,000 get anywhere near 400,000?
Of losses I'm talking about. So loss cumulative, your net worth
You
at the
need
end.
credit or something to
Well,
lose it.
They basically were borrowing money from the American Conservative Union and others. But the point is that the real problem for them is that when you do a test, you look at when the IRS decides to actually enforce the laws that are out there, and it does a test of whether you've gotten an illegal private gain. Remember, that's an advantage or a financial benefit. What they look at is they look at your net worth of the charity, and they say, is the gain that you derive personally through the operation of the charity small in relation to the net worth or large? And if your net worth is negative, a $1 gain, a puny little gain, is very material. So go up the next block and then down.
That's a new bookstore we just passed.
Right. And so when you're thinking about defending that in 2009 or 10 you set up a consulting firm doing business as Cove Strategies, which didn't have a net worth when you set it up, and today you're getting $750,000 for saying that you can get a pardon for somebody, that one transaction sure looks very material.
I agree.
Right? And that's before, and I'm not just I'm talking math here, before we get into the crushing legal arguments, which we'll get to in a second. But on math, Schlapp's in serious trouble. Then you look at 2011, that's the first year that has any semblance of an actual audit. It's not really, it's not well done, but it's a semblance of an audit.
Was it BKD that
No, it's this guy called Thomas R. Conlon, emphasis on the word con.
Right.
And in my opinion. So this becomes Chinatown if we just go straight down here.
Someone is getting out of their car to examine the traffic, suggestive that there's some kind of a jam going on.
Yeah, there is typically the the Holland Tunnel.
Oh, yeah, right.
So you and I were talking about this yesterday. Perhaps we do an in-studio show. We'll do it. We'll highlight this in studio. But if you look at the 2011 990 for the American Conservative Union Foundation, and you go to Part 9, which is the detailed statement of its expenses, and you look at line 18 on Part 9, what you see is that the American Conservative Union claims in its filings, which are still out there and have not been corrected, that it had total program service expenses. Those are the most important expenses of a charity. That's the money they claim is directed towards furthering the actual purposes, not overhead, the actual purposes of the charity. Total program service expenses of $1.53 million, of which $1.5 million was spent on what, Jason? I think you know.
I think it was travel and entertainment for politicians or something like that.
Right.
Which sounds like a $1.5 million trip to the strip club to me.
Well, it's just strictly forbidden. In no other year, in any portion of the American Conservative Union Foundation filings, the American Conservative Union Foundation filings, do I see an entry for that amount in those two charities, or any other. Not even the Clinton Foundation has those kind of payments in there.
It just also doesn't seem like the thing you should be able to do with a charity. I mean, I get it when you're trying to get business, you take somebody out to a restaurant and schmooze them and all that. And the idea is, if I take you to dinner for $800, you're going to give me, $200,000 contract. But how can that work if you're a charity?
Well, I think it's strictly forbidden. I think it's not merely the charity laws. I think laws pertaining to
weed fashion, Charles.
Is that what that is?
Well, it's a leaf, isn't it?
I don't know. You're finely attuned to that.
But it's also checkerboard, so that's kind of weird. And here's a robot getting rained on with a furry.
Right.
It's weird stuff all around.
So just staying if I can on this. Yes. So I believe there are strict laws that prohibit politicians from taking those sorts of payments for entertainment and for flying around. And if you take them, you have to disclose them on various types of forms.
Right.
So here in 1 year, roughly.
Even if you think it'll upset people?
Especially if you think it'll upset people. We can go, I think.
Because there could be an exception for that.
Yeah. But so in 1 year, in that year, 2011, 98% of the program service expenses, according to their declaration of the American Conservative Union Foundation, would appear to me to be tantamount to bribes to federal, state, and local politicians. Something
Is that bad?
yeah, it's not good.
You're not supposed to do that?
I don't think so.
Oh. Is I don't know a valid defense?
No,
I didn't know.
No, I didn't want to know. Who could know?
Hey.
What happened?
How about we should be friends? Is that a defense?
That doesn't work either.
Here's another one of these mobile labs.
Yeah, that's right, Lab Q.
That's literally the biggest business right now, is testing people to see if they have a disease that's so deadly that you're going to die.
So do you think that there's COVID, the China virus is down in this block here? Another reason actually to go down here is there have been horrifying tales recently of
attacks
against Asians.
Yeah.
No reason, just next thing you know, they're knocked to the ground.
Well, I saw actually the Post had a video of some lady who was like, you know, like a 50, 60-year-old, like not a boxer, just a lady, and a big guy punches her right in the head, and she just collapsed and sat there. Which, I mean, frankly, that's the first time I've seen a viral video of somebody getting punched where the recipient of the punch responded in the way I would imagine. I don't think the average person can take a full-on...
What did she do?
She just collapsed like a bag of dirt. I mean, and that's the thing. I think people think it's funny to punch somebody in the head, but that could ruin the woman's life. She could be permanently injured.
I don't think it's...
You could detach her retina, hurt her brain.
I don't think
She's
it's funny at all. I think
no,
it's outrageous.
It's not funny at all. Well, but they did catch the guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he back out on bail?
Probably today, yeah. I would think that's likely.
So,
here we
go.
Why are all these things closed, Charles?
Well,
are they like food places that are open at 3 in the morning and closed now, or here's infrastructure solutions?
Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't look too thriving.
I don't want to give you that. This is too big.
It is Wednesday. I guess Wednesday generally, back in the day, pre-COVID, Wednesday people would start going out for dinner. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I mean, it used to be, in New York City, you would walk around and be like, don't any of these people have jobs? Because everybody was just always out, no matter what day it was.
Yeah.
And then speaking of having jobs, I hope there's somebody at Apple working on this damn click. No, they will fix it, but they did not.
So maybe we'll go down this one and over and back up.
Yeah. I mean, but this is dead. This is totally dead.
What makes you say that?
Wait, look, is that an automated vehicle? No, it's a guy driving. Electric shuttle, it said.
Yeah, on the way to crossing the street now, of course, people don't respect red lights, and so
drivers don't.
Yeah, the red light, and car after car after car went.
Really?
And finally, this one car goes, and it's like 10 seconds after it changed, and I like whips through it, and I look to see is the next one going to do it, and it's a traffic police car, and the guy's just.
That's ridiculous.
You know.
They're worthless. If they're going to defund the police, the traffic police are the ones to do it to. Look, here's another.
Tesla?
But it's a taxi. It's got a livery plate on it. That's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how these restaurants are staying in business, Charles.
Barely is the answer.
Yeah. Totally empty.
But this and to our left used to be main Chinese food.
Well, there's a lot of examples, though, of places building basically outdoor versions of their restaurant.
And here's Hemp Garden.
What? Oh, yeah, look at that.
Look at this place over here.
This is all for rent.
The Mon Win Food Market.
Well, some of these places are like fish places that are going crazy at a certain hour of the day and then closed pretty early. So this is Avant-Garde, which is the Hemp Garden. This looks like an apartment building.
It's also got hemp?
Where is that?
Hemp is here. Well, where is it?
I think it's coming soon.
Hemp Garden, yeah.
It doesn't seem to be open yet. Oh was watching a, how did I get to this? YouTube is interesting how it directs you around, but I saw something talking about the activity of the triads, which is organized crime down here in Chinatown, and how, where is that street where there's like a weird loop?
Weird what?
There's like some kind of unusual loop in the street. I think it's Mott Street.
Yeah, it's right up here. But let's make a left and go back up.
Sure. But normally there was a ton of activity down here that we're not really seeing right now.
It's okay. Spring roll and a summer roll. It's the first time I've ever heard of a summer roll.
So, I don't know what's wrong with this. Looks new but closed.
Yep. You can make a left here, Jason.
Yeah, it's just nowhere near the level of activity that is typically happening in Chinatown. All of these things being closed, that doesn't make sense. That says picture frames. I'm thinking about these like big fish markets where there's a million people screaming and like live fish flipping around. Those things are open.
Those days are moribund.
This person's ready to back up into us for some reason.
Now, these people are heading, I guess, over to the Williamsburg Bridge?
The Manhattan Bridge, I think.
Manhattan Bridge, okay.
Right? Is
I don't know.
Right over here? I think we can almost see it.
Yeah, everything just down, closed. This place, this brave place is open. The Green Garden.
I do like the hanging ducks. Some people who are vegan will hate that. And also, this is pretty not humane or good for keeping the lobsters alive in terms of wanting to eat them.
Well, if you can eat them, I mean...
But you don't want ones like this that are sitting on top of each other. Those could be dead inside there. You want a lively lobster, or it's not good.
I don't want a lobster, period. One thing I've never understood, I mean, if somebody will serve me lobster out of the shell, all that, you know, clean, ready to eat, I'll eat it. But
I actually enjoy the dismantling of a lobster. That's a new building. Look at that.
yeah. So this way?
And I've been in here, this place, Capital, used to be a bank. That is a club of some kind. These are like tomato plants to me. This is another, you'd have to ask Manny. I don't know that much about plants.
Yeah. Only the best, Jason.
So actually, Charles, speaking about Manny Grossman and the stuff that he's been investigating with the Son of Sam, we were talking about Untermeyer Park, which is, I guess somehow there is this Untermeyer Gardens Conservancy, which is one of these 170BA6, what is it?
B1A6.
It's one of those.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, what is up with all these parks? Like, the website says it's a municipal park, but yet there's this charity associated with it. Then we just saw that woman telling us we couldn't go into the park. What is the deal with public charities, public parks?
Well, they have to be open to the fish restaurant. The fish.
No, I think
pet
that's a pet store.
Aquarium, yeah.
You got little fish in there. Seems kind of underground.
Yeah, I never understood and never even remotely thought about eating goldfish as a prank. I know it's just
No,
like,
that doesn't seem good at all.
what are you gonna do next? Eat a cat?
But how can the, like Barry Diddler Park and...
Well, strictly speaking, a public charity, 170B1A6, is supposed to be open to the public at large and run by a board that is representative of the public at large. So I haven't looked at the Son of Sam stuff, but I was looking today for S and G. We won't use the word. Plural and plural. I was looking at whether there were any Biden charities, and I came across the Joe Biden, the Biden Cancer Initiative, of course.
Yeah, well, I remember when he started that because of Beau Biden.
I think he started that because he needed to pay off people.
Well, but that was the excuse.
Right, he needed to pay off people that otherwise he'd have to pay from his personal pocket as he stood in the wings being ready to run for president in 2020. And so if you look at that, if you look at the PF or 990 form, whichever it is, which is on there in ProPublica, the most recent one, it shows that they paid the CEO of this charity that had like $3 million in revenue, paid the CEO $420,000.
That's a huge
no grants.
sum.
And 100,000+ to some communications firm called, I forget if it was the Visual Frog or the Vocal Frog.
Visual Frog.
The Visual Frog.
Sounds like a website company, though.
It sounds like it's
like a
complete
dumb
fiction. It's fiction. It's just we'll say we sent it. Nobody's going to
No,
check.
that could be a real company.
Visual Frog?
I mean, it sounds like a website company. Some clever person comes up with a dumb name like that.
Right. But you just look at it, and the thing is controlled by Jill and Joe Biden until they both leave.
Well, that's what I mean. They're all following the same template. So it seems, I'm not aware of any other thing like that where just so many people involved in it break the law, and that just sort of becomes the new law.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the concept of adverse possession. When you have a property and people come on it and you don't disturb them for a period of years, the trespassers...
They become squatters.
Right. Well, they have legal rights to the property.
That's crazy.
And
I mean, that's sort of what these guys are, charity squatters.
Right, and it does, but the law doesn't. I don't hope it doesn't work that way for these offenses. And it's also, I think, a bit like what happened before the Protestant Reformation, when the Catholic Church, some would argue, at a moment in time, was incredibly corrupt. And what they were doing is they were, to people, maybe Bill Gates' ancestors or people like Bill Gates back then, if you had a problem, killed somebody, children out of wedlock, mistress or whatever, you could go to your priest, or you needed to go up the line, and you could purchase an indulgence.
What does that mean?
Well, you pay money to the church, and they'd say, that murder, it's okay. This is don't worry about that.
I thought you were going to say it was like Thunderdome. It was like, bust the deal, face the wheel.
No. In essence, and that was one of the reasons that Martin Luther, that was one of the reasons that sparked the Reformation, that it was so corrupt. And similarly, I think we have with these charities, it's accepted that the Silicon Valley tycoons, led by Gates and others, can donate the appreciated stock. The founder shares that they have, they get to be worth tens of billions or more. They donate that stuff to a charity they still control.
Right.
They take a huge tax deduction for doing that.
Right.
And while they could have sold and collected after-tax cash more than that, they're happy to do this because they're transferring it from one pocket to a pocket they control and getting a big refund from the IRS. And more than that,
makes them look good.
Whitewashes them. And that's a template that started before there was an income tax with Andrew Carnegie and other people like that.
All right, I'm going to get on this clip again real quick. But one thing that I would draw attention to is that look at all these empty restaurants.
Yeah.
I just, from casual observation, had the thought to go around. And I think this is the type of exercise that you're likely to appreciate. To kind of like write down what block I'm on, how many businesses there are. What the hell is this?
I've never seen this before.
You want to go in there?
No.
Oh.
Well,
why not?
there's a bureaucracy.
Awesome. Let's just take a look, because there's some weird stuff in here.
Yeah,
what is all this?
So you have
these beasts.
all photo or video shoots and events require advance permission.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Garden guidelines. No smoking, vaping, drugs, or alcohol. Amplified music. No climbing on the statues. And then they show you a very interesting pictogram of climbing on a statue in case you don't know what that is. I've never seen this.
And it's a .com.
Right. So that's the thing. What's with these like private parks that somehow benefit whoever is rich and puts these weird, creepy statues here? And what's that thing over there that has the same kind of swirl on it that the Medusa in Untermeyer Park has?
I don't know.
So strange.
Let's book it.
Anyway, okay, so that's...
It's probably the owners of this, either the city took the land or the owners of it gave it to somebody. And
But that seems to be the thing. You become super rich. Look at that weirdo thing. I mean, what is that?
Hillary Clinton. On a good day.
Some sort of beast.
On a good day, that's Hillary Clinton.
Oh, I appreciate this guy shooting large format over there. I don't know, Charles. There's some weird statues in this Elizabeth whatever park. And also these pillars. I haven't had a chance to make it over to Diddle Park yet. Got to get there before noon. Barry Diller's sexy all-boy Thanksgiving park.
Dildo Park?
And look at this weird place.
That's kind of cool.
Antique objects.
Bread company. I like this kind of stuff.
This is some haunted, weird stuff.
House of Hackney.
Did you ever see the movie Evil Dead, where the guy is locked in a cabin and this deer starts laughing at him and he goes crazy and saws off his arm?
Yeah, that's the kind of movie I like to watch. You know, real comedy.
See that?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's just the kind of pick-me-up movie that I'll go to see. Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
It's a classic.
Bras de Lis. First I looked at that and I thought it said Brad Eli. So
Oh, God, Charles, that woman just used a mask to pick up after her dog.
Oh, well.
I...
Yeah, this whole idea of, you know, who's walking who's controlling who. These dog owners in the city have to walk around and pick up the crap.
That graffiti over there is promoting circumcision.
How do you figure that?
The character says Briss on the hat.
DND Briss?
Dungeons and Dragons and circumcision. Two controversial topics.
Speaking of people who were controversial, you see that story about the 20-year-old aspiring rapper who was shot last year and just died?
Did not. Well, who was that? What was the name?
I don't know.
Ooh, all this stuff is out.
Oh, yeah. Been out, will stay out. Fine perfumery. See, these stores, this all used to be old-fashioned stores,
right.
And then it got gentrified. But you have to be pretty damn rich to continue to support. There's another rapid test place.
That's what I mean. Wait a minute. Damn it. Lost battery again.
You want to hold that?
Yeah, hang on one second. Let's see, maybe if we go to the big ones now, it'll work. This just makes no sense. These batteries used to last for hours. I think we might be getting, let's just see if these pick up for us. Hopefully that'll come back. It'll last for more than a second. Well, it's already, no, that battery died right away. Here, we'll try one more thing. So people can still hear us, Charles.
Oh, they can, okay.
Anything else capturing your attention lately?
Well, you asked me about the American Conservative Union Foundation. So we talked about that 2011. We talked about how we now have a continuous stream of audits from cover the period December 31, 2010 to March 31, 2010.
We don't want to go heavy details because people can hear us that well. It's more like a stream of consciousness audit. Okay.
This is a fine street here with the buildings are old and not particularly upscale, but nice street.
All right, so now we got another battery. This is voltage out of range. I don't know if...
Shall we sign off?
I think we have not too much choice. Wait, it might be back. Okay. It says battery too low, expect shutdown soon, so we can expect that. Maybe let's, wrap it up and...
Sure. Well, we'll do a more incisive in-studio
Yeah.
next either Sunday or next Wednesday, and take you through the results of the research. But I can say that on the audits are done by the same small firm that has done a very poor job. There are suspicious links to the characters.
Yeah, that audio went out again. Okay. All right, so we'll on Sunday. What's the weather report for Sunday?
I have no clue.
And by the way, here's another new smoke shop. So everything is opening as either a COVID testing place, a Chinese massage parlor, or a weed store.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, de Blasio loves it. Yeah, I think we're just out of. Oh, wait a minute! Look, it just sent me an email that Sound Devices has a firmware update. I can't do it here, but maybe they've figured out what I've been saying, that something is wrong, and maybe there's a way to get it fixed. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back on Sunday. Please become a sponsor. Go to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Sponsorship funds in part go towards batteries. Thanks.